How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
the Bride of Frankenstein. She's alive! Alive!
a monster created from cadavers out of rifled graves. A tale that sent my blood into icy creeps.
Would you like to hear what happened after that?
Well, we've warned you.
You have been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the Universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Tom Lang.
And I'm Bill Evenson, and you're joining us for the penultimate minute of Bride of Frankenstein.
It's the ultimate, but yeah.
It's sort of the ultimate and the penultimate at the same time.
Yeah.
This movie has credits, and those are next week.
So essentially, it's the climax of the film.
It is an interesting time for a climax. You've got seconds left. You've got 60
literally,
seconds, and the climax happens. There's not a lot of denouement. Was that the right word? What's the post-climax part called?
That's it.
Right. The theatricality is now completely off the charts.
Well, I think that goes down to the lever being the Deus Ex Machina, or however you say that.
That's precisely how I think.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah,
It's there for this to happen.
The only problem is it's Deus Ex Machina literally means hand, finger, or hand of God, right? So it's actually the hand of the monster.
But okay, technically.
But it's not entirely literally, but it's more or less. Yeah, it's about as close as you can get.
It's a device that exists.
Short of having God come down like in a Monty Python sketch and shoot lightning at some guy. Everyone is posed, like you say, theatrically. Everything's blown way out of proportion. Everything's completely insane. And we're just going to blow the fucking place up.
So the minute begins with Henry and Elizabeth rushing down the stairs to escape. Now, a while back, we've been talking about how Colin Clive, we said, broke his leg riding a horse. Well, an astute listener who caught our mistake, which I hope I'm not...
Well, we were going off the cuff. If I recall correctly, one of the things I really wished that we could learn more about is that level of detail of understanding when things were shot and when he was
injured versus...
And
Alyssa McCushton, I really am sorry.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. She pointed out that in Greg Mank's biography of Clyde, One Man Crazy, in fact, he did not have a horse riding accident at this point. He fell down the stairs on the set.
This was one of the times in his life that he didn't have a horse riding accident. He had multiple.
Several before. A history of horse riding accidents. So at that point, you don't get back on the horse, I would think.
I think of all terrible jokes to make. No, I mean, at some point, I guess. That is why it's a phrase, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He did. He got back on the horse.
But
But again, not the point. The point is he got injured on set.
On set, and here he is running down the flight. Well, you don't see them running down, but they turn and go down the stairs.
Good point. You don't see them running down the stairs.
I don't know. Earlier, he comes down the stairs. This is the only flight of stairs that he... Well, no, this is flight of stairs at Pretorius' apartment that he could have fallen down, too. My guess it's these stairs or the stairs that are in the entryway to the watchtower.
Yeah,
it's the same
couple stairs
flight of stairs, different sets.
There's that... Okay, so she also mentioned our astute listener mentioned in her note that the scene where they say... she says, that makes me wonder if he actually slipped and fell down the laboratory stairs, making the lines, mind the steps, they're a bit slimy, I expect. Either foreshadowing or deliberate irony. So that's different stairs, or it is the same stairs.
It's the same stairs, but it's
stairs.
two different sets.
Two different sets. That's why I'm not making them the same stairs in my head. Because I don't think of this movie as existing in a real space. I just think now they moved to another set. I don't even think of it that way. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yes,
we appreciate feedback like that, especially in this case, because
you said it was off the cuff, and it's something we should have. I don't know if I ever referenced it before. I have read that book.
Yeah,
I should know better.
Oh, that's all right.
Whatever.
You're taking it you're taking it really hard. It sounds.
I wept openly when I read that.
I don't know. I mean, we said it now. We got it in under the wire.
Yeah. We didn't talk about it during Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, so I guess we're okay.
So he says, we belong... Okay, so I did want to address what you talked about last week about him letting Henry off the hook. He says, specifically speaking to Pretorius, in my opinion, says, you stay.
Oh, yes.
He's not talking to the bride, but he is. It doesn't matter.
Well,
you can do it either way.
inadvertently, because the editing points that out, his saying that is flanked by shots of Pretorius still holding his hands up like he's in Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
There's a film I can never, ever watch.
You can't get enough of.
Oh, no, I can never watch it again.
But we actually have a little... It's funny that people have had a week to sit on this
the great
thought,
debate.
because there is a bit of an answer, which is he says, we belong dead. And that's his explanation. For whatever reason, Henry doesn't. It's not a good explanation.
No.
Who's we, then? It's the monster.
The monster, and the monster.
And monster.
as you
Okay.
referenced
All right.
last
We're
week.
sure about that. All right.
Yes.
He says, we belong dead. And the bride, I feel, reacts to that. Like she goes, what?
Oh, I think she's in her own world. Just
I think
sort
so,
of like,
too.
Just doing these quirky, goofy.
I'm trying to have it both ways by saying I think both things, but it looks a bit like she reacts to that. Like, who are you talking about?
I don't think she would understand.
No, I don't think so
she's
either.
just got her arms kind of up, and she's just sort of
She's a mess.
in her own little universe there.
She's goofing around, and she does the. And she says that, she got that from geese or something?
She and Charles Lawton, her husband.
I knew you'd know, so I didn't bother to look it up.
She and her husband, they would spend time at Hyde Park in London, and there were geese there that she said were very nasty, and they would hiss at you like that.
I've seen geese do that.
Oh, yeah. Golden Valley has a lot of geese, and so, I've seen it numerous
Anybody who's
times.
gone to the park to feed geese, like I've gone to the park and fed geese, and you're like, this is fun. I'm throwing bread to this lovely animal, and they're going to eat this thing I'm giving them. And it almost invariably turns ugly.
Ends badly.
They're awful.
Yeah,
geese
they are.
just
Geese
assholes.
are nasty. They are.
Fucking assholes.
They're not wrong. They're just assholes.
And then contributing to the theatricality being completely off the charts, we now see Karloff, who is drenched in tears.
Yeah, that is a bit much, I will say.
It's just pouring
Because
out of his...
Seconds later, he was, you stay. But it's fine. It's a nice little moment. It encapsulates, I think, the whole series. Is like, I've had it. Fuck all y'all.
It's been like a theme for the last at least 4 weeks. This blatant theatricality to everything, and it's part and parcel. Clive and Hobson run off screen, and a stagehand throws a bag of flour.
Oh, he hasn't pulled the lever yet.
We got to pull the lever. I'm sorry, I don't want to get ahead of it.
So there's big, dramatic close-ups of his hand coming down, pulling the lever. There's a big explosion. We see a wide shot, ground level wide shot, that it gets really bright from the explosion. And off to the right or left-hand side of the screen is Henry holding the bride up against the wall.
So it's just off center of the screen. He's in a bright white outfit. Your eyes are immediately drawn to him. As far as goofs, movie goofs,
he's in a bright white outfit, holding somebody in a bright white outfit, brightly lit from the sparks of the explosion.
If your claim to fame is catching movie mistakes and movie fuck ups, this is like your first. This is junior grade. This is kindergarten level. You're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Everybody saw this.
Also, the cosmic diffuser is fully descended in this shot, and in minute 70, they had it brought back up. Raise the cosmic diffuser.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
It's still it's hanging right over the table.
Fucking Carl, man. Those two
idiots. I'm glad they're
morons. Dead. I gotta say, Fulton couldn't just block out that Henry.
That was I always wondered.
He couldn't just put a black spot. Even just a black spot on the screen would be better.
Yeah, or Matt in a boulder falling down, or
something,
or part of a beam or something to cover it up, because it is glaringly obvious.
Like a strange mass, like a blob,
glowing specter.
Anything it would have been better than just leaving the guy. It's just so obvious.
There's a nice model shot, courtesy of Cleo Baker, of the right side of the tower blowing out. Mm-hmm. It's a good model. It had to have been fairly large, even though the flames, don't quite look to scale.
Well, that's why I was gonna, when you say it's a good model, it's a good model. It's not a particularly believable model shot.
No, but
the shot in the film is not believable. And And
when
again,
when
I keep saying things
out
like
the
this
side.
because the movie...
So I don't think it's any less believable than something blowing up in Star Wars.
It's a little bit less believable than some of the stuff that blows up in Star Wars. I think they made some really big strides there to make things look better. Understanding how just making something small look bigger, slow motion or whatever it is you have to do. I don't know. Here's the problem. I don't want to come across as if this is a criticism. This is absolutely the takeaway of what Bill thinks of Bride of Frankenstein is. That silent 8mm film that I watched as a kid that didn't seem like a movie because it just seemed so completely fucking out there is the thing that I love. The Bride of Frankenstein, when he says that, and he's all theatrical, when the tears flowing down his face, the unconvincing model shots, the Deus Ex Machina, it's all part of one big picture that I love. And that's what that film was. It's only 2 minutes long or something, 5 minutes long or whatever.
They're pretty short.
And I think that film is a crazy, insane thing. I love it, is what I'm saying. Don't judge me.
But the feature length, the full feature is not.
The feature is better. I like that better. But we've entered a different realm by the time we get to the end of the film. The last 5 to 10 minutes, everything's ramped up, and you just accept it. Now the building is a obvious model shot, and we don't care. But again, like you said, it's a good model.
It's a good model,
and it's even a good model shot if you accept that it doesn't look believable.
And the explosions look good, blasting out the side.
Yeah, when they got it, they were like, "Oh, that worked great."
And then Henry and Elizabeth flee out the front door. Barely missing getting hit by a bag of flour.
Bag of flour from a stagehand.
Yeah.
We don't see the stagehand,
That's
but
what
there's not much going on there.
I think her running up and all that was shot later then because they obviously got the two of them fleeing on this same set. It goes back to what was reshot, what was added when they changed the ending, and I believe, this obviously had to be one because they're making their escape.
I'm sorry, I don't follow you. It had to be one?
It had to be one of the reshoots.
Oh, yes, I
after
agree.
production.
I completely agree.
So it's very
the
possible
original
that
idea. So let's back up a step.
Okay.
This movie was shot and edited and completed and shown to people, and then they did these reshoots.
It's fairly common, yeah.
So that ending didn't have that shot in it.
No,
it just
the ending had
the building blowing up.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's at the door.
Yep.
No, she. I'm sorry. Clive opens the door, you think, and lets her in, she can die.
No, I think that was all.
That's all part of the reshoot.
Yep.
So if that's part of the reshoot, it's interesting that there's ADR in it.
Right.
But that's fine. This is why I'm getting meticulous about it because what else am I going to do?
Yeah,
we're doing it minute by
doing it,
minute.
right.
And I've always just thought it was really fuzzy how it all played out. Like I said, I was surprised to even learn that she comes to the door in the original. I would have thought all of that was reshoots.
They don't have the exchange in the original. They don't talk about, let's get out of here. No, I can't. Leave them, I can't. None of that's in the script. So it's very possible and likely that it was ADR'd in.
But that's while he's opening the door to let her in. I don't know. It's fuzzy. It's still fuzzy.
Yeah,
to me.
it would be nice to get a hold of production schedules and stuff to know what was shot when. And I don't know if for this film they still exist and where one would get a hold of those. Maybe
apparently Riley is no longer with us.
That's
even
what I
he
understand.
Can't help us. So here's how I was going to cover this.
Okay.
And I've been dogmatic about it because you wanted to go Edgermont, but I wanted to go script first.
Sure.
It says Elizabeth, weak and panting, pounds on the door. Cut to the monster. She is like the rest. That's basically what he says.
She hate me like others.
Like others, yeah, which is better.
Yeah.
With cold deliberation, he moves the one step that brings him to the lever. Maybe that's what made me think that it's more deliberate. Close up, Elizabeth knocking at door. I like the word knocking. Like she's like, hey guys.
You guys.
Hi, it's Elizabeth. Are you up? Henry! Cut to close-up of Henry. He releases the figure's hold on him. The figure, again, the bride. Yep. I like that. About to rush to the door when a shout from Pretorius comes over. Pretorius, look out! Henry turns to see what the warning shout means. A look of blind terror on his face gives a desperate shout to Elizabeth, who's pounding on the door, comes over. Either I typed that wrong, or I think it was weird in the script. Henry, go back! Go back! Cut to monster, medium close-up. His hand is on the lever. In his eyes, the gleam of a wild vengeance. See, maybe this is where I got this idea from about the lever. It sounds like in the script, like it's very deliberate. He utters an ugly cry and with one great gesture swings the deadly lever. Then there are cries and shouts, a blinding flash, a blast like thunder, smoke, sparks, hell let loose, dissolve to exterior ridge of the hill against the stormy sky. With the lightning and thunder of the heavens for accompaniment. I'm saying all this part because I like it. The structure that was the laboratory collapses into a burning heap. The cloud of smoke and dust disperses a little and settles down over the scene. The thunders of a jealous and triumphant Jehovah roll.
Yeah, there we go.
for positively the final fade out, the end.
He's quoting Lord Byron from the beginning
Yeah,
of the
I
film.
suppose so.
I
Yeah.
rate Jehovah.
I rate Jehovah. So that's the ending that we didn't see.
Right.
Although we see almost all of those
We
things.
see
it's
those
just a little
things,
bit
it
different.
just-
Then we go Edgermont. You want to go Edgermont? You do Edgermont.
I don't have direct quotes because I just
Well, I got maybe too much
don't
here. I
want
kind of
to,
typed a lot of it in here.
don't want to bore people with my reading aloud. But yeah,
Well, this is what I think is interesting. My darling, Henry murmured brokenly, you must go. I can't leave them. I can't. But now another voice spoke, and this time with a strange authority. Go, said the monster. His hand was on the lever. Henry saw and thrust Elizabeth out into the night. She was determined not to go without him, and he was equally determined to stay. The harsh voice behind them said, they stay. We belong dead. His fingers were trembling on the lever. Pretorius was choking a sob. He began to sidle towards the door. Then through the room came a shape in headlong flight.
This is where it gets really, really, really fucking stupid.
Strong arms pushed Henry and Elizabeth through the doorway onto the stone ramp that ran down to the heath. Run, you weak fool, Franz cried. He turned in the doorway as the doctor hurled himself through. His muscular arms caught the rushing figure and flung it back. My triumph, doctor! Go back to your magical instruments. Cheat! I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means, yeah.
He pulled the door to and thrust a key into the lock. Through the open grill, he could see the doctor's white face as he screamed for mercy. When he says the doctor, I assume he means
Pretorius.
Okay. But there was no time to gloat. He flung the key away and raced down the ramp. Henry and Elizabeth were still running when they heard the girl's wild scream. So the girl must be...
Rescue the bride.
Weird. Because the girl and the doctor, when I first read it, I thought that's Elizabeth and Henry.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to me that way. And the doctor's despairing cry. Then it seemed as though the artillery of God had thundered forth. There was a dull, monstrous roar and a blinding flash, a rush of wind that threw them to the ground, the crash of falling masonry. A voice said, gaze long, Baron, for you will never see its like again. Elizabeth murmured, Franz, we owe you a debt of gratitude. The dwarf smiled wistfully. You were kind to me, he said simply, though I did you a wrong. They stood there a while in silence, revolving many memories, until at last the hunchback said, Goodbye, it will soon be dawn. Goodbye, my friend, said Henry, and turning to Elizabeth, he whispered, Our dawn, as he folded her in his arms.
It's terrible.
I like it.
Oh, it's
I'm
awful.
not kidding. I think it's good.
awful.
I don't think it's great. I think it's bad writing in some spots. But I
In
really
some
like
spots.
the idea of that ending better than what we see in the film. So what happens in the film is completely unsatisfying. So
But
I
I
kind of
think
like
that's
it.
even worse.
I like the idea of having somebody else be the driving force for that thing that we find so unsatisfying, right? At least there's a reason for it. I like it. I do. I'm not lying. I like that there's a reason for it.
First time I read it, I was like, what the fuck?
That's what I thought the first time I read it.
And I reread it just to make sure I got that right.
And I still hate it.
And I still
You hated it worse.
It comes out of nowhere.
Yes, I'll take your word for it because I haven't read the whole thing straight through.
Yeah, well,
I
you're not
assume
missing
there's
a lot.
nothing,
No, there's nothing
setting that up.
Nothing to set that up whatsoever. Yeah, Franz is basically Carl.
Yes.
So
He's also basically Fritz.
He's also
'Cause
Fritz.
He's listed as a hunchback and a
Yeah.
dwarf.
Oh,
I don't know what to do.
SpongeBob SquarePants is calling.
Decline screen call. Yeah, he's a hunchback and a dwarf, so he's basically
he's
Fritz.
Fritz, and he's done nothing to warrant this happening.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It comes out of absolutely nowhere.
But what we've been talking about is that this ending comes out of nowhere anyway.
But to me,
So to have it be a side character to me is more satisfying.
no, I don't know. I don't.
It's not a lot more satisfying.
No.
It's not great.
And
but I actually
the
don't mind it.
dialogue is just abominable.
Yeah, I think you're right. You were kind to me, though I did you a wrong. I don't even know what he's talking about. I might have to go back and reread the whole novelization,
You really don't
which I'm
have
not
to.
going to bother to do. Okay, so we agree. Pretty good ending for the Edgermont. He's gonna hit me. I thought you were gonna hit me. All right.
This table's going over.
Have you read the Dreadstone?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that at all?
I
This is
just
our
read-
last opportunity to talk about the Dreadstone.
No, I couldn't wait for that to be over. No, it's just overly flowery writing, but it
Yeah.
basically plays out more or less like the movie.
All right. Well, here we go. You ready?
Oh, please, really?
Pretorius
Okay,
was
thank God
murmuring.
it's the last fucking
No, this
time
is
I have to hear
important.
this.
Pretorius was murmuring in Frankenstein's ear, "Get her out of the building. I'll calm him down until you're clear. We can do without him now. will create a perfect mate for her.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
good.
that.
That's good. I do like that. But there's not a moment where he could murmur this to Henry. It just doesn't fit what's happening.
Well,
everything is rushing headlong, and he's just, hey, by the way, just,
yeah.
it doesn't.
Here's an idea.
Dramatically work quite right. I like what he's saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's an interesting idea that's being introduced. We don't need the monster anymore.
Yeah.
We've got her,
It's
so
being
we'll create a mate
introduced,
for
but
her.
it's being introduced way too late in the day.
Totally. And then the next sentence in the book is, the creature heard him. It was not Frankenstein who had betrayed him after all. Indeed, Frankenstein had given his bride life. The evil was in Pretorius. As we've said so many times in this Dreadstone, about the Dreadstone, he's trying to fix something that he sees in the film that it has, that in this case, the motivation that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is, why does he let Henry go? And in this case, he's kind of introduced
giving it
something.
sort of a backhanded...
and it's really clumsy because he has Pretorius say something that he just came up with out of thin air.
Yeah, no, it's weak.
Henry, the voice sobbed. The creature hesitated. This time Frankenstein had helped him, had not attempted to destroy. He cuffed Frankenstein aside. You go, he snarled. When Pretorius attempted to follow, the creature hurled him to the floor. You stay, he said, his huge boot poised above the man's face. Just like that. All at once, too quickly for its source to be glimpsed. Light blossom. This is the explosion. I just want to...
Yeah, it's...
Okay, here's what happens in the explosion. All at once, too quickly for its source to be glimpsed, light blossomed violently at the center of the room where the woman stood. It was as though the lightning, too powerful to be contained, had cracked her shell. Before she could scream, she had become a slender white flame. The creature felt the flame's hot breath. The first wave of the explosion smashed him back against the wall. Bricks scraped, loosening, mortar spilled down. The flame snatched Pretorius as he shrieked and then flared up briefly like a huge wisp of hair. The building collapsed. The rubble of the walls poured inwards. Bricks stunned the creature, numbing his nerves. As he fell to his knees, the fire reached him. He was surrounded by rumbling chaos, as though the storm had come for him, but it was quickly over and he felt little pain. Yet before he blazed, he had time to realize that Frankenstein must have brought down fire from the sky at the beginning to give him life. Perhaps the fire had returned to reclaim him. That's how the book ends.
Yeah.
Like he's telling the story from the monster's point of view,
Well,
generally.
he does throughout, yeah.
But specifically at that moment. Like the thing I keep harping on about that this is a model shot and nothing's believable and we don't believe any of this is going on. He's actually identifying with a character inside that little model, essentially. Yeah. Like he's a character.
Do you like that? Or
I do. I like it. I like it.
I thought it was overly flowery.
We got to do something.
I don't know.
What's he going to do?
I
Say,
guess.
darling. We haven't talked about that.
Well,
what do you think of the...
Oh, that's terrible, too.
Yeah.
The last two shots, they run up on a hill and embrace, and it cuts to a closer shot that pushes in. Clive nuzzles Hobson towards him, and darling. Music swells and it fades out. Not particularly great.
It's really Magnificent Ambersons. It's really...
It is, yes.
Whale just took a trip to Brazil.
And someone else shot.
Somebody came in.
Robert Wise came in. And
Robert Wise came in. I mean, Wise was in the film business, but I don't think it was him. That didn't happen, though. As far as we know, Whale
as far as we know, Whale,
just decided it was
fine. Yeah, the ending is always, those last two shots, no.
Yeah.
They don't work. Again, Clive was disappointed because he thought the character would die.
So Clive was disappointed. Whale never signed off on this when he made his first cut. It wasn't anything he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Somebody imposed this?
I'm not sure. Could be the Hays Code. I really don't know where it came from.
I suppose. But like you said, the Hays Code could also be interpreted to go the other way.
Henry is getting off scot-free for all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's not entirely out of step with the Henry we see earlier in the film, who does feel sorry for what he's done in the first film.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely insane.
No.
It just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Particularly well.
I would love it if someone would find the original 98-minute preview edit of this in a vault somewhere so we could see how it originally ended, we wouldn't get the whole Newman thing out of context. We wouldn't...
Yeah,
we'd have...
You say that, and that's actually was the first thing I thought of was I'd be more interested in those earlier scenes because the ending, I'm guessing, is probably equally unsatisfying.
Maybe.
Not equally unsatisfying, just unsatisfying in a different way. Just everything blows up.
But, we'd see Carl murder his uncle and all
that would be more fun.
All that stuff would be there. We'd see what happened to the Burgermeister.
Yeah,
was
true.
Dragged out of his office and trampled on in the street, apparently. So, I doubt it exists, but it would be great if it shows up somewhere.
Yeah.
Universal has like a vault in Kansas where they store a lot of their stuff. And
A salt mine.
That
Before, I think might have been before we started recording. We were talking about Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the commentary or any of that stuff associated with that? Like that's in a
salt.
It's
Actual, yeah.
like where they actually store films.
Yeah.
Day of the Dead might be there. The actual film might be. I don't have any idea. It is amazing to think how, they do still find stuff like that. But in that case, that's a very particular thing. Like the fact that we got Metropolis, we got this extended version of Metropolis 5 years ago, which seems insane that it took
such a
100
fluke.
years almost.
Yeah, it's such a fluke that would have shown up at all.
But the fluke is an existing edit of a film that we knew had been distributed still existed.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's what are the odds?
Right.
The odds were pretty bad.
Pretty slim.
And it turned out, well, that's amazing. It's something that nobody wanted and presumably they wanted destroyed.
Yeah, right. No, I don't
Less
hold out
chance.
any hope at all. That or like the original cut of The Black Cat, sure doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah.
'Cause that was changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Uncle Carl came back from vacation, took one look and said, no fucking way. And they had to do some pretty drastic reshooting.
That's an interesting one to me because for some reason that isn't like a holy grail for me. I prefer what we have.
I don't think it's a holy grail. I just am curious to see.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that.
What's different about it.
I'd be the one I would go to next more so would be Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Yeah.
I just want to see what it was like.
You need a good laugh, so
It was probably pretty bad. Well, and they did produce a good film, as we'll find as we go forward.
half of a good film, yeah.
Half of a good film?
It's a really good Wolfman film.
I suppose.
It's a shitty Frankenstein film.
It is.
We had talked earlier about whether Karloff had a double or not.
Okay.
I did find out that he did.
Okay.
An issue of Monsters of the Movies, issue number 2, August 1974. This was sort of a famous Monsters of Filmland knockoff that Marvel put out.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harmon, who was one of the editors and wrote a lot of the pieces for it, interviewed a man named George de Normand, born September 22nd, 1903 in New York City. Died December 23rd, 1976 in L.A., age of 73. Has 431 acting credits, 227 stunt double credits. He says he doubled for Karloff in this film. And he actually talks about how when Karloff was being made up by Jack Pierce, this George de Normand said he was being made up by Otto Lederer, who was Pierce's assistant. So I don't have reason to doubt it. Why would somebody make that up and get that specific about it? And
I mean, you can see there are places where you would want to double Karloff, obviously.
Yeah, this sequence where all the shit's raining down. You don't want Karloff standing in the middle of that. I'm sure that's not true. Clive or Elsa standing there either.
That's a good point, yeah.
Funny enough, of course, our old friend, the IMDb, does not list Bride of Frankenstein
as
doubling Karloff.
As what he
did. It says he doubled for Reginald Barlow when he falls into the cistern below the mill at the beginning of the film.
Okay.
He could have done both. It's very possible he did both.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, actually.
But
good old Reggie Barlow.
He's got a long list of acting credits, but also a long list of stunts and stuff. So I have no reason to doubt that this guy actually was his double.
Maybe he'll be in the credits next week.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Come back next week.
And now that we're done talking about Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, I will bring up...
Time to end the podcast.
I guess.
Okay.
Something that our friend Dino Stamatopoulos pointed out when we were on his podcast on Halloween is that there are short story versions of both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
That's right.
They're in a book called The Frankenstein Omnibus, edited by Peter Haining in 1994. You're
going to hate this, but I have to do it. Peter Haining is a super famous Doctor Who.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I have like 4 books by Peter Haining, and they're Doctor Who books from the 80s.
Should have stopped while I was ahead.
Yep. I'm going to make you regret it every time.
Yeah, I know. There's Frankenstein, the Man Who Made a Monster, which is often what you see in, the poster I have in my living room says that.
Says what again?
Frankenstein, then there's a colon, the Man Who Made a Monster.
Oh, yeah. I'm
sorry. A lot of the publicity material. It's not the name of the film itself, but...
But that's what the name of the story is.
Yeah. And it's a short story. It's credited to Garrett Ford, whoever that is.
That's John Ford's cousin.
His other brother, who's not Francis. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't know who Garrett Ford is. I know who Garrett Fort is, who was one of the screenwriters.
Close enough.
I guess. And then Francis Farrago.
Painting is not known for his accuracy.
Is that right?
Anyway, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, these weren't.
You're
when
not being facetious.
No, I'm not. When was that book put out?
94.
Because that's a different era of book, right? So we've talked about this with Barsky and other people.
Right.
I think Dino too.
Yeah.
About just sort of the history of those books, and he was making these Doctor Who books and around that same time, probably before that.
Okay.
So they're inaccurate, but for the time that was what you had.
We also list Francis Farrago, who was one of the other screenwriters, as authoring this short story, but he doesn't really say where it came from, what it was for. No idea. It's brief.
Did you know about this before Dino sent that?
No, I didn't.
So Dino just found a book.
I guess.
That has weird...
Yeah. So, I tracked down a copy, and it follows the story of the movie fairly closely.
Okay.
There's none of the weird extrapolations that Edgermont or Dreadstone did.
So we've talked
about... But the next chapter is The Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
By John L. Balderston and William Hurlbut. This he credits to Pearson Weekly magazine that was printed in England in the 30s. So this is concurrent with the film's release, written by Guy Preston, and it's much more faithful to the film. It's a little bit longer than the Frankenstein one, a little more detailed, but it follows basically the film very closely.
And we assume it was, if it's long, it
was like probably serialized. Yeah, that's my guess. And I couldn't really find out much more of where these hailed from than that. A little Google search just pointed me back to this book.
And no notable, you didn't see any notable, problems with him? Were they weird or in any way? Or
no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because another book we've talked about is these just monster books that you had when you were a kid, and that they put out when we were kids, and I'd get from the library, like the one that told me the plot of King Kong versus Godzilla, because you're never going to see this movie.
Oh, there's
no way you would ever
the Crestwood,
little thin ones,
Crestwood Publishing,
and I just remember being completely enamored of that and just reading it. I made my own little comic book version where I put in every part of the story and drew out how King Kong versus Godzilla went. Because why would I'm never going to see this movie.
Right.
When you were a kid, you just thought it would be impossible to see that movie. Of course, now I've got it on. Well, hell, it's in the Criterion set and everything.
Yeah.
So I pictured in a similar way that obviously there's a demand for it to there was for me, right? Just as a kid to be able to read it.
To read about these, yeah.
I don't know though.
Well, we used to do they used to have the Scholastic Book Club when I was in elementary school. You get the little flyer, and they would have one of them was like Great Monsters of the Movies.
Yeah.
One was Karloff and Company and that one was a little better. But yeah, when I was a kid, they were great, and I read the hell out of them. They were just beat up, and looking back at them as an adult, it's like, wow, Frankenstein, they shot in the hills of Germany and all this shit.
Yeah.
Igor was the assistant in Frankenstein, and all these.
So there's nothing like that in these. Though.
No.
It's Fritz and it's Carl, and it's all correct.
It's like they actually watched the film.
They bothered. Painting bothered to watch it.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, it would have been on video.
Yeah. And there's other stuff. I mean, it's a really thick book.
But again, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. He's attributing at least the second one to being something from a magazine.
35.
He says from the 35, huh?
Yeah.
You make me think of that Mr. Arcadin novel that comes with the Mr. Arcadin box set.
Wells had no idea where that came from.
Yeah.
It's attributed to him.
It says right on the side, Mr. Arcadin, Orson Welles.
By Orson Welles, yeah. He had no
he's
idea.
The author, but he didn't
I have
nothing to do
no
with
idea
it.
what that is.
I guess it's just always been true that there's been a market for that type of thing. And I think it is because you can't see it again. You don't go to the movies again.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
What kind of maniac goes to see a movie more than once?
They played for like a week, and then the next thing came in. And
probably.
Then it would go to the smaller towns. And
actually, I'd kind of forgotten that part of it, because by the time we were kids, Northtown was where I went. They had 5 screens or whatever.
Yeah.
So Star Wars played there for 2 years, and then it came back the following year.
The Park Theater in St. Louis Park, it played there for almost a decade, I think.
I think that's right. I'd forgotten about that. I seem to remember that I would follow that in the paper, because they would say 111 weeks and all that shit.
Yeah. I saw it there. I don't know how many times.
It was not hard to see Star Wars repeatedly.
No,
but it was hard to see Frankenstein more than
until home video. Like 81, 82, I forget. I've got
plus we've talked about the TV, the monster packages.
the Shock Theater.
Shock Theater and all that, yeah.
Yeah, so by the 80s, it was pretty easy to find this stuff.
But at the time...
But prior to that, you relied on, a write-up in Famous Monsters or in these books for kids, the Crestwood Publishing. I think they did like 30 of them.
Okay.
I thought about, should I track these down? And
yes.
They're expensive.
Are they?
Yeah. Because they were made for library. They weren't sold at like B. Dalton or anything like that.
Interesting.
They were made for libraries, specifically for what we encountered them.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of them floating around.
So, I remember when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, they had a novelization written by, I want to say, Alan Dean Foster.
He does, he does tons of those.
And I was really enchanted by that. Like, that's a really charming, cool
So
throwback thing
2015
to do.
when...
What's that?
It was 2015 when...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they still do that. I didn't know.
To do it at all, and to have him do it in particular, I think that's where we are at now, because Force Awakens came out in the theater, and I think I had a bootleg copy the next day. But I went and saw it with the first weekend. So,
I saw it opening night.
But then I wanted to see it again, so I downloaded a copy.
We went... I think I saw that 3 times in the theater.
I probably did, yeah.
And then the next one twice, and then the last one once.
I think that's exactly what I did.
Diminishing returns, and wasn't as stupid as
there's a craft to it.
Yeah.
It's like Bride of Frankenstein. Let's bring it all back. Everything we've talked about for the last 4 weeks, or at least this week for sure. Are we still recording?
Yeah.
You probably cut a lot of this out, I hope.
this'll...
Is stupid. And I've gone into at lengths why it's stupid and why it's even stupider with the reshoots. But it's all part of that package of Bride of Frankenstein that's expertly made. I was going to say competently made.
No, I think expertly is
expertly
better,
made. And, Whale's not a fuck up.
No, guy knew how to shoot a film, that's for sure.
Fulton, I got some problems with.
Fulton was just the one.
John Bowles, I could do without.
Well, yeah. Well, now I'll spend the next 2 years arguing why I don't think Son of Frankenstein is that great,
Okay.
and you do.
Yeah.
And I think there are enormous problems with it. There's parts of it that are excellent. There's a great 75-minute movie screaming to get out of 99 minutes.
I've actually got a recording of you saying 75 minutes, so that's good. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
Well, I'm not with Dino where it's like 45.
Yeah,
minutes long.
he wants it 18 minutes.
Yeah. No, I'm not quite there. But no, I think there's a good...
So if we've got a great 75 minutes, we don't have anything to worry about. That's a lot of minutes. That's 75 episodes worth of great stuff out of 99.
Out of 99.
Or 100 or whatever it turns out to be.
But but there are a lot of problems. We talked about the Bride of Frankenstein coming in at 98 minutes. They did a preview and cut it down to 75.
Yeah.
That didn't happen with Sun.
Right.
Because it shipped wet because Roland V. Lee fucked around so long that well, God damn it, we got to get this thing out today, basically.
I'm enjoying...
And so you don't get the tightening of it. So we have in real time fucking Basil Rathbone putting his goddamn kid to bed for like 10 minutes. And he's saying a prayer, bringing him up the stairs. I could spend the rest of my life without that and be just fine.
See, but that isn't what... Son of Frankenstein isn't
but there's so much
bogged down by him putting his kid to bed.
No, but there's so many things.
Minutes.
There's so many things like that in it.
But when you say that, though, a lot of them are great. A lot of the things
where he's
are scenes with Igor. A lot of this, and every scene with Igor. Okay, let's just start at the beginning. Every scene with Igor is fucking great, right? Every moment with Igor is great, except for the neck knock. The neck
knock is terrible. When he grabs the hand of the monster and is supposedly being electrocuted, that's really idiotic.
Okay. So there are some seconds you don't like.
I'm saying I don't need to see Basil Rathbone doing the block and tackle chain thing to lift up the trap door in the... And that goes on for at least 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
What the hell am I going to talk about for that?
Yeah, I think
there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of that. As
you're saying all this stuff, you say there's a lot of that stuff. I just still think overall it's really small. Those are still small things. What really happens to extend this movie is the decision late in the day to give Bela Lugosi more work.
No, and I agree with that.
And you also agree, it sounds like, that most of that is pretty great stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. The movie was artificially extended to make it better. I shouldn't say to make it better, but to the betterment of the film. A lot of the stuff that almost comes across as nonsensical or unneeded is Atwill and Rathbone going at each other.
Oh, that goes on for
repeatedly.
days.
And I can suck it all up, man. It should be twice as long. It's
No,
so good.
No.
Well, who don't you like? I mean, I've heard this. Well, next week we'll have a guest on who will say that Rathbone's over the top.
Oh, he's all over the place. Yeah, throughout the whole film, it's like he's condescending to the material.
Okay.
That he knows.
I can't.
He knows he's better.
I can't
than
make
this.
that not happen for you, but I don't agree.
He knows he's better than this shit, so he's just gonna play it up. You don't get that from him in any of the Sherlock Holmes films. You don't get that from him in Adventures of Robin Hood or any of those sort of things. Tower of London, which was
What's
shot
that one? The
directly
Black
after.
Sleep. He's really good in that too.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that. He doesn't.
But actually, no. You probably hate him in that too because it's the same thing, right?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm speaking for you because I'm upset. God damn it! I love Rathbone in this movie, and it's like
I don't dislike him, but I think he needed someone to say, "Let's dial that back a little bit," and nobody did.
Okay.
When they're playing darts, it's ludicrous.
Well, there are some. Okay, I see what you mean. There are some, again, really minor. I think. Okay, so it's 99 minutes, and you think there's 75 minutes a good movie. I think it's more like 96. Like you really just cut a
3
sentence
minutes?
here and there out.
No, I don't.
Like
agree
you
with
said,
that.
him getting shocked. That's 2 seconds. The knock on the neck.
Oh,
that's
that
4
that's-
seconds.
No, that all you needed was a better sound effect. They didn't have to go to Walter Lance to get the sound effect.
It's terrible.
And it sounds dubbed in.
That would have been funny if he'd done what you just did. That would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been better.
Well, the idea is dumb.
It is dumb. I love Jack Pierce. He does great work, but that does not look like anybody's neck bone sticking out. It looks like he's got a couple of ribs poking through his neck.
Well, now you're just
Now I'm just being
asking
mean.
for trouble.
Yep.
You're just trying to offend me personally. I love it. What are you talking about? He doesn't have that in the second one.
No,
does he?
he got apparently someone fixed his teeth.
It's like
they
like
got
when
him
you put your thing out of joint, your arm out of the socket, you just shove it back in. That's what happened to his neck.
Oh yeah,
And then
I
my
didn't
teeth
think
are
of
better
that
too.
before.
I can spit out these false teeth now.
yeah. His clothes are better. Yeah, he's in the intervening years.
Way ahead of ourselves.
I'll cut this all out.
Well, I don't know. I don't envy you. It's been a long babble, but
But it is the end of the movie, and next week's is going to be pretty long too.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, Jeff.
not sorry, Jeff. It's important. You got to suffer through it. Do it at 2x. Probably already did. Follow us on Instagram, where we
why
don't
not?
do much at all, and then we're also on Facebook. You can join the Frankenstein Minute Village, which is a Facebook group where we post things. And people post things. And Doc Ivan has just
posts
posted
his artwork,
some artwork
which
for
is
you.
always a treat.
Always, every time.
Every Friday, I look.
Guy does
forward
not
to it.
miss.
Hits him out of the park every time. Unlike us. But
Yeah. Unlike, say, our performance in minute 74 of Frankenstein Minute, Bride Minute, whatever it's called. Okay.
Go to Redbubble and buy some goddamn shirts, so I didn't
Yeah,
waste all that time putting that art together too.
Yes, I completely and wholeheartedly agree.
Not that we get any money from it. We don't.
Not
that
really.
I'm aware of.
Not a ton.
But at least make it worth the while that they're there.
We have an account there. We're probably...
There's someone right now bought one.
There's $2.